Croatia's property prices keep skyrocketing as the country records the highest annual increase across the European Union. House prices in the country have been rising steadily over the years.
It's been almost 3 weeks since Croatia adopted the euro as its currency, and people aren't happy.
We all felt the price increase, at least 30% higher for everything.
I'll discuss that in just a minute with Kolinda Grabar-Kitarovic, former president of Croatia and deputy head of NATO.
Croatia had to meet strict economic conditions to join. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen traveled to Zagreb to mark the occasion.
Croatia might look like paradise, but for many who live here, it feels more like survival. Since 2019, rents have climbed by more than 70%, but average salaries have only grown about 20%. Families are working longer hours, young people are sharing apartments into their 30s, and thousands are leaving every year in search of stability. It's the side of Croatia most tourists never see. But for locals, it's daily life. So why is it becoming so incredibly hard to live here? Let's break it down. The truth is, you just can't afford a country where your paycheck runs out before the month does. In Croatia, the average net salary is about 1,100 euros a month, and that's if you're full-time. If you're part-time or seasonal, it's even less. Compare that to Slovenia just across the border with 1,400 euros, or Germany where it's 3 times higher, and yet the prices of commodities are practically the same. Since switching to the euro in 2023, food inflation has been brutal. Bread, milk, and vegetables jumped by more than 15%. Eating out costs 30% more. Even clothes are pricier and have shot up by almost 40%. So what happens? Families cut back. Meat becomes a luxury. Young people share flats or never move out in the first place. Pensioners who receive barely 500 euros a month skip meals or rely on their kids just to get through winter. People work hard, but the reward is shrinking. It's no wonder you hear the phrase, working full-time and still poor, in cafes and job interviews and at family dinners. In Croatia's 2025 economy, wages aren't just low. They're completely disconnected from the reality of daily life. And paychecks aren't the only thing under pressure. The roof over your head is slipping out of reach too. In Zagreb, a one-bedroom flat that cost 400 euros in 2019 now rents for over 700 euros. In Split, the same apartment can easily reach 1,000 euros. And in Dubrovnik, it's common to see 1,200 euros or more for spaces locals once considered modest. That's more than an entire monthly salary. Buying doesn't help. Croatia's national house price index jumped more than 10% in 2024 alone. On the coast, prices per square meter are over 3,700 euros. For young couples, that means saving for years just to afford a down payment and then watching mortgage rates climb. So what happens? Adults in their 30s live with their parents. Croatia has the highest age of leaving home in the EU at over 33 years old. Some families build upwards, adding an extra floor to their houses for grown children because buying a separate apartment is impossible. Housing isn't just shelter, it's the chance to be independent, to start a family, to build a future. And in today's Croatia, that chance is slipping away. And the truth is, these disappearing homes are the result of rising demand and of an entire housing market being reshaped into something else entirely. The housing crisis isn't just about locals wanting homes. It's about tourists wanting rooms. Airbnb has taken over. In 2024, Croatia had more than 220,000 short-term rentals. Dubrovnik alone has nearly 5,000 active listings, many earning over 20,000 euros a year. For landlords, the choice is easy. rent to tourists for the summer, and make what you get from locals in a year. That shift empties out neighborhoods. Streets that used to be full of long-term tenants now feel like hotel corridors. Whole apartment blocks are locked behind key boxes. Foreign investors add to the problem. Germans, Austrians, and others buy Croatian property not to live in, but to flip or rent seasonally. In Split and Dubrovnik, locals joke that their cities are being sold off brick by brick. The joke cuts close to the bone. And for those left behind, rising rents, shrinking options, and the sinking feeling that their own cities aren't really theirs anymore. Because once housing becomes a product for tourists and investors, it stops being a home for locals, and tourism itself becomes both the lifeline and the trap. Tourism is Croatia's lifeline. It makes up roughly 20% of the national economy, which is one of the highest shares in Europe. Every summer, 20 million tourists flood into a country with fewer than 4 million residents. That's 5 visitors for every local. The money is real, but so are the side effects. During peak season, food and restaurant prices spike. Public transport in coastal cities overflows. Hospitals see surges of injuries and illnesses from visitors. For locals, life becomes more expensive and more crowded without the salaries to match. The jobs created rarely offer stability. Waiters, cleaners, and tour guides work exhausting summer shifts, then face unemployment come autumn. A generation of young Croatians is stuck in this cycle. Their hard work is matched with very little security. Tourism also reshapes culture. Dubrovnik's old town has few permanent residents left, and it's now an almost entirely tourist zone. Locals often avoid their own historic centers because they no longer feel built for them. Tourism was supposed to save Croatia. Instead, it's making daily life more expensive, more unstable, and harder to call your own. It also puts unbearable weight on the very services people depend on to get by. Once, Croatians could rely on strong public services to balance low wages. Today, even that safety net is fraying. Healthcare is at the breaking point. Croatia spends around 1,392 euros per person on health, which is among the lowest in the EU, while the average hovers closer to 2,800 euros. That's barely half the norm. With fewer doctors and strained hospitals, the system is buckling. In rural regions, entire villages lack resident doctors. Thousands of doctors and nurses have already left for Austria and Germany, where they can earn double or triple their Croatian salaries. Schools are struggling too. Teachers' salaries are low, at an average of 1,540 euros net per month, which makes it incredibly hard to attract young staff. Resources are outdated. During last year's heat waves, classrooms without air conditioning hit 40 degrees, and parents had to bring fans from home. Public transport is another headache. Zagreb's trams still run, but much of the fleet is decades old. Smaller towns have buses so infrequent, they might as well not exist. When daily life feels this broken, frustration doesn't stay quiet for long. Strikes have become part of the rhythm of life. Doctors walked out in 2023, warning that hospitals were collapsing under staff shortages. Teachers followed, demanding pay that matched rising prices. Even public sector workers joined in, saying they were tired of working harder for less. But it isn't just wages. It's politics too. Croatia ranks 57th on Transparency International's Corruption Index, one of the worst in the EU. Many believe leaders are serving themselves, not the people. So what happens? Voter turnout drops. In some elections, less than half the country shows up. People are tired. They don't believe things will change, and fatigue is dangerous, because when anger fades into apathy, staying starts to feel pointless. and leaving begins to look like the only way forward. The truth is, Croatians are leaving in staggering numbers. Since joining the EU in 2013, more than 400,000 Croatians, which is about 10% of the population, have emigrated, mostly to Germany, Ireland, and Austria. Eurostat data shows nearly 15% of Croatian citizens now live abroad. Sadly, the pace hasn't slowed. In 2024 alone, the country recorded a net loss of over 5,000 people. This isn't just a brain drain, it's a future drain. Young doctors, engineers, IT specialists, and skilled workers are building lives elsewhere. Small towns in Slavonia are filled with empty houses and shuttered schools. Rural communities lose critical services as populations shrink. The government has tried to lure returnees with incentives, but the math doesn't add up. Why would someone earning 3,000 euros a month in Munich return to 1,100 euros in Zagreb with much higher costs and even fewer opportunities? Until that gap closes, the exodus will continue. It's a hard choice for many Croatians to fight for a future at home or build one somewhere else. Increasingly, they're choosing the latter, and that's the greatest danger of all. Because a country without its youth isn't just struggling in the present, it's losing its future. Croatia will always be beautiful, but beauty doesn't pay the rent or convince young people to stay. Unless something changes, this country risks becoming a face on a postcard for tourists, while the people who call it home are pushed further to the margins. Croatians deserve more than survival. They deserve a future worth staying for. If you want more stories that reveal the side of places beyond the brochures, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our channel.